Hey, this is Rustin with Metalholic Magazine, and I'm here with Nick Nowell of the Famine. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing very well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, this is our third time's a charm attempt at this interview. The first time I believe you were sick, then I was sick.
That's what I was gonna say, man. It's been pretty crazy. And then there was a bout of swine flu circling around me at the time as well. So we're star-crossed.
Good grief.
You feeling better now, though, man?
I'm feeling much better. You know, I finally got a weekend off to spend some time doing stuff. Although I swear this is like jinxed. I sat down last night when I was at work and wrote down a list of questions I wanted to ask you, and they're still sitting at work. So this is also the fly by the seat of the pants interviews.
Good. Okay. Well, this will be a test of your professionalism here.
There you go. Well, let's talk about The Architects of Guilt, your new album. It's getting great reviews so far. How pleased are you with the final outcome, and how does it compare in your mind with The Raven and the Reaping?
We're really excited, first of all, and flattered that the reviews have been so great and that there's been this big outpouring of support for this record, because it's a pretty tough record to market if you think about it. Our last album, our first record, The Raven and the Reaping, was kind of a mid-paced groove metal record, and there were definitely some death metal influences on it and things like that, but I think it was a little bit more palatable to a wider audience. I think this record is a little bit more of a pretty much thrash death metal hybrid in the vein of what was happening in 1994, and so we took an already kind of abrasive template and just cranked it up a couple notches. So it's really flattering, like I was saying, to see that it's connected with so many people, and we're very happy with the way that the record came out. Not because it's flawless, because it certainly isn't, and that's kind of part of what we wanted to do. We wanted to make a record that was, I guess, for lack of a better term, rough around the edges.
Right.
Because everything, it seems, in metal and in music in general, turn the radio on, has gone this way to where everything is so digitized and quantized and just pristine and flawless. And in my opinion, I think that takes a lot of the soul out of it. A little variation in sound and everything like that. We didn't just compress the crap out of it and pitch correct everything and that kind of stuff, and with the playing that you hear on the record is each of us, going in there into the studio and banging out the songs. These songs were actually recorded analog. Right. So, and I also think that we ended up with a record that's really representative of the circumstances in which it was written this time of our lives, It's a pretty aggressive album, and we've had our ups and downs certainly in the past year or two, so I'm definitely looking forward to being able to look back in 10 years on this record and have it be almost a time capsule for the last 2 years of my life.
Like you said, the album's very aggressive. I felt pummeled after I listened.
Awesome.
And then I had to go back and really get into the lyrical content. But
yeah, and we all four of us kind of just holed up, and this was, the first record was something that was written pretty much by Andy, our guitar player, soup to nuts, and he did a fantastic job, and he had a vision for that record, and he was able to execute it. This one was, old school, DIY, all four of us in a room, just like it was, when I was 14 years old in high school playing in punk rock bands with my friends, and everybody was writing riffs, and we were just moving at a breakneck pace, and so, it was a new way of writing for us, but it also, I think, allowed us to create a little bit more of a cohesive record that has, I think, more of a flow and a feel to it. Not to say that all the songs sound the same, because I think there's a pretty wide variation in tempo and feel and dynamics, as much as there can be in extreme metal. There are no choirs or operatic vocals or anything like that, but it gave us an opportunity, especially with me writing all the lyrics this time, because all the lyrics before I was the vocalist were kind of just a group effort. Andy wrote a lot of those, Mark wrote some, Chris wrote very few. So with all four of us writing the record, that gave us a little bit more of a communal focus. Everybody could be on the same page, and I think it put everybody's playing in that same box, which was good. And then it gave me the ability from day one to be able to try to match the musical intensity with the lyrics and with my delivery and with my patterns and things like that.
I really hear a lot more, chemistry and continuity on this album than the last one.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's more of an organic record. I really do.
And you were talking about some of the stuff that's happened in the last year, and one of those things, other than your studio burning down, Chris left the band, and you decided to forego bass duties this time, and you took over vocals. Was that a difficult choice for you, or why did you opt to do that?
Well, it was, I kind of recused myself from that decision-making process, actually. So that was something that once Chris was gone, I don't want to tell tales out of school, because Chris doesn't really have a public venue, to set the record straight from his point of view. But in my mind, it was something where we kind of pushed him before he jumped, I think. Mm-hmm. But I was never angling, the last thing that I would ever want to do would be to hurt somebody else that I care about. And I love Chris like a brother, for my own good. And so as soon as I realized the situation and that I had a vested interest in it because my name was at the top of the list being bantied about to take over his spot, I kind of just, like I was saying earlier, just recused myself from the entire process. And so Chris was asked to leave, and right after that happened, I went out of town with the vocal spot in limbo and all that stuff. I went to Mexico. And when I came back, I was the vocalist for the Famine. It had been announced, and my email inbox was full, and that was a decision that was made in my absence. So yeah, and I think it's better that way because I came about it honestly, and I think for Mark and Andy's decision-making process, it just made the most sense. I'd been doing all the background vocals, so they were familiar with what I could do, if you think about it. Those guys are all standing on stage with me. They hear my vocals night in, night out. And also, they'd known me for years, and I think it made a lot more sense to put me in the spot, given that they knew me and I was going to be, in a way, the face of the band, than to take a gamble on bringing somebody entirely new with, their beliefs and their attitudes and their shortcomings and their talents and everything like that. That's a pretty big gamble to bring in another unknown element and place that at the forefront of your life's passion.
Well, but you guys did opt to bring another person into the band because instead of going as a three-piece with you continuing on bass as well as vocal duties, you opted to bring in a bass player.
That's right, yeah. I think there was probably about a day where we were thinking about just banging it out as a three-piece, but now that you've heard the record, I think you could probably figure out why I'm not doing bass and vocals. The tunes are very technically challenging, much more than the songs on the first record. Like I was saying, a lot of them are faster. We just kind of turned everything up a couple notches. And John was somebody, I'd played in bands with him before. He's one of my best friends in the entire world, and he had been supportive of the Famine from day one, from the very day that I joined, and from our first show. He had been there working in any capacity that he could, lending me his bass gear so I could tour, because I was a guitar player and a vocalist before I joined the Famine. I had never played bass.
Right.
I actually auditioned for the Famine to be a second guitar player, but they didn't have a bass player lined up, and I wanted to be a part of it so badly. I would have played tambourine. I was happy to do whatever they needed me to do. I just wanted to fill that space. So bringing John in was a pretty easy decision for us. He wasn't an unknown guy. He was a friend of the band in every sense of the word. And the guy was selling our T-shirts for free at our shows any chance that he got. He was there. He was completely supportive, and he has the kindest heart in the entire world, which is a huge thing that's very important for us. But he's also a fantastic bass player, a much better bass player than I could ever hope to be. So we knew that he was going to be an asset both on and off the stage, and that his presence was really going to come through on the record, and that's something that we wanted to fight for. It's kind of uncommon in death metal to hear the bass poke through, but John's such a consummate musician that we knew that was something that we wanted, and we knew that was something that would bring a new element to the album and hopefully give it one more reason to bear a repeated listening.
He was already part of the extended family, so there was a comfort zone.
That's exactly right, yeah. Pretty much that's it. And it was the best decision we could have possibly made for the band. Everybody loves John. My greatest hope is that everybody gets to meet John and sit down with him for 5 minutes. I don't know, he's one of those guys that puts a big smile on your face no matter what. He's a great dude.